Hello and welcome to episode 2 of 48 Hour Heroes Origin Stories. I'm your host, Kirk Nordenstrom, co-producer of the Seattle and Montana 48 Hour Film Projects. And in episode 2, I'm going to speak with a dear friend of mine from the Netherlands. Her name is Indra Vanithof, and she is a city producer for Eindhoven and Nijmegen in the Netherlands. She's new to the gig. She's only been doing it a couple of years, but she has competed in 42 48-hour film projects over the years, and one year was the city winner and actually went to the short film corner at the Cannes Film Festival, which is, no small feat, and it's kind of the holy grail for 48-hour filmmakers around the world. The reason I wanted to talk to Indra early on in this is that Filmapalooza is coming up March 9th through 12th in Washington, D.C., and in a lot of ways, Indra really encapsulates, for me, what Filmapalooza is all about. In 2018, when Filmapalooza was in Paris, my wife Kasha and I were attending the opening night screening, a retrospective of the best French films and some of the other best films over the years in the 48-hour film project. And I remember Kasha and I were sitting in the theater, and there was this purple-haired woman sitting right behind me, and in the spirit of Filmapalooza, I introduced myself, and it turns out that it was Indra, and we just started chatting. She told me all about her film and introduced me to the actor in her film, and we were Facebook friends shortly after that, and we chatted throughout the duration of Filmapalooza, and became casual friends over the course of those 5 days in Paris. Fast forward 2 years to Filmapalooza in Rotterdam, and the first day I see Indra working at the registration desk. And I was excited to see her because, we'd been Facebook friends, but we hadn't seen each other in person in 2 years. And I saw all the ink on her arm. And my buddy Chris Cherry from Toronto, we had decided that we wanted to get tattoos, and our colleague Laura Schlecht from Houston had bailed on the idea of getting the tattoo with us. Understandable. It's a bit of a commitment. So, we'd known that Indra had done all these 48s in the past, and it was in her blood. So we figured, why not? We'll ask if she wants to get it on her skin as well. So we asked Indra, hey, Chris and I, we're going to go get tattoos of the 48 logo. And she said, yeah, without a second thought. Just boom, yeah, I'll do it. We found a place called Bob's Tattoos, which is just right across the water from us. Walking distance. It was great. And sure enough, Chris, Indra, and I, we got the 48 tattoos. And, Indra's kind of become the younger sister I never had. So, that's why she encapsulates what Filmapalooza is, and encapsulates, just how much fun Filmapalooza is. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Here's episode 2, 48-Hour Heroes Origin Stories, and my interview with Indra Vanithof.
So it really doesn't matter what you look like, say or do. I know that I had a cool weekend and you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kirk Nordenstrom. I am the co-city producer of the Seattle 48-Hour Film Project and the Montana 48-Hour Film Project. If you're watching this, you've probably participated in the 48 or have gone to a screening of the 48 and, like to get some behind-the-scenes tidbits of the minutia and trivia of what goes on in the 48. So I thought I'd step up and talk to the vast network of people associated with the 48 that I've accumulated since 2005 when I started in Seattle. And let's see here. So Filmapalooza, which is the international best of event of the 48, where the rest of the world gets mad at the Dutch and French because their films are so damn good. It's, all the filmmakers from all over the world, from the 130 cities where the 48 is held in. We all get together, we watch each other's movies, embarrass ourselves singing karaoke,
and basically have, a fantastic time in creating this, giant family network of filmmakers. And that's coming up in March of 2022. It'll be the 20th anniversary of Filmapalooza. So it's fitting that it'll be in Washington, D.C., where Mark Rupert and Liz Langston first kicked off the 48-hour film project 21 years ago. And, Filmapalooza is my favorite holiday. I love it. It's right up there with Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving for me. And I love that I meet so many people, make creative connections and personal connections. And this is the first one in 2 years in person, so it's going to be a really special one. And the first person I wanted to talk to was my dear friend Indra here, because in many ways she exemplifies what Filmapalooza is. In 2018, Filmapalooza had its first international iteration, which was in Paris, and it was Olivier Dussault who runs all the French 48s, unsurprisingly put on an amazing Filmapalooza. It was, memorable in so many ways, and especially since it was my first time to Paris as well, which is just amazing. Always wanted to go. Studied French for 9 years in San Jose, California. Weird thing to learn in San Jose, but I got to speak French. And the opening night retrospective, my wife Kasha and I went to this gorgeous old theater in historical theater in Montmartre to watch 5 of the best French films over the years and 5 of the best international films over the years. And we sat in front of 2 Dutch people, one bald and one with purple hair. And we just started chatting and hit it off, and, went about the rest of Filmapalooza, had an amazing time. And then in 2020, days before the lockdowns and the pandemic happened, 500 of us were running around Rotterdam, hugging and shaking hands and crowding theaters and going to bars and getting tattoos. And, first day at the registration desk, there's Indra and Chris Cherry, our counterpart in Toronto. We wanted to get a 48 tattoo, and we knew that Indra had done a couple of 48 hours in the past. We'll get into that in a little bit. And was, inked up to high heaven, and like, we need a third, kind of like the band of hobbits needed needed a 13th. And like, yeah, she's done a whole ton of 48s and speaks the language. And you want to get a tattoo with us? She's like, yeah. And with that, I give you Indra.
It's me.
It's you.
Hi, everyone. This is so cool. It's so cool to go back in my head and especially that first night in Paris, because it was my first Filma. I was there as a filmmaker because we won one of the Dutch editions the year before. And I was there with my dear friend Patrick, who was the main actor in our film. And I just remember, it was my first time in Paris as well. And I just remember sitting there in that beautiful theater, because it was just gorgeous, wasn't it? And seeing all these people from all around the world coming in and just talking to everyone. And then you guys sat behind us and were like, he seems cool. These are my type of people, a bit alternative, not fitting
I would
into.
probably dress something like this.
You were. So like you said, we started talking, and I found out you were a city producer, and that's been in the back of my head for a long time to become that. And then we saw each other again in Rotterdam, and you approached me, you and Chris, about doing the tattoo, and I do like my ink. So we went to the it's a famous Dutch tattoo shop called Tattoo Bob, and we went there, and we had a camera crew with us and a few other people. It was just like a happening. It was just so cool. It's just like the ultimate thing to do together, right? I mean, you went first because you wanted, and absolutely true and right, to be the first one ever to get a 48-hour logo tattoo. And then I think Chris went, and then I finished up last.
Yes.
So, and you got it on the inside of your arm, right?
I got it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. I got it right there too. By now, there's a bit more surrounding it because I'm starting the sleeve, but it's still there because my artist, the one who's doing my sleeve, she said, so, you know, the placing is a bit awkward. Should we cover it up? I said, nah. No, we're not covering it up now. Yeah, but it's not that pretty. I said, it doesn't matter that it's maybe not pretty in your eyes. It's pretty in my eyes. And what it stands for is even prettier because it's 48. It's everything. So never covering that up, ever.
But yeah, I mean, that's Filmapalooza, you know, when you think of, you know, the people we know all over the world now, you know, I always like to joke that, you know, if I need a room to crash in, if I'm in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, I can get hooked up.
Yeah.
You know, if I go to Karachi, Pakistan, I can get hooked up.
Yeah, we say, KK, hook us up.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, but I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, you know, I've always done the 48-hour in the Netherlands, and we have 6 different cities here, 5-6 different cities that do it. So my network went from I don't know anybody to I know everyone in our tiny little country, right? And then I went to Filma in Paris, my first one. And from there on, it just exploded. And now I have friends and, you know, people I know all over the planet. And it's just a mental thing to think of that a filmmaking competition, which we, you know, essentially are, can do that to someone.
Yeah.
So, you know that, you know, if I want to go to, like you said, Ulaanbaatar is a great example. I always have to explain where that is because people don't know it. But if I want to go to Japan, Poland, anywhere in the States, Mexico, you name it. There's bound to be someone there who does 48 and says, come stay with me. It's a family thing. And
exactly. Well, I mean, that's, you know, one of the things that I think, you know, personally helped my sanity during the, you know, pandemic and the lockdowns was, I mean, for a good stretch, we had our weekly, you know, Sunday morning / evening, you know, Zoom calls. And, you know, those went on for, you know, about 3 months. We did it, you know, pretty religiously. And, you know, it's just great seeing Dino and Iris and Chad and Chris and Aline and KK and, you know, occasionally Mark or Christina, you know, Christina would pop in. And that, you know, that really helped in that time of detachment, you know, very literal detachment. It you know, really helped me. And they go for like, you know, 2.5 hours sometimes.
They did. And then Olivier will pop up with his bottle of wine in hand. You know, and it's like early morning for you guys, and we're over here drinking wine because it's like after 5 o'clock, so we're good. But I think that whole thing, and not just, you know, but also, you know, talking about everything, right? But also sharing experiences and, you know, how do you guys do this and how do you guys do that? Because, I mean, by now, you know, I've been a city producer for a year and a half now. And shortly after Filma in Rotterdam, I became official.
And no one was surprised.
No, I mean, see, the thing is, though, because Pierre, our lovely Pierre, who has been a city producer for 2 cities here for about 8 years, taught me everything. Love the man to high heavens and back. He's been nagging me for this for years, and I mean years. And then since Paris, Mark also started to, you know, wouldn't it be cool to, you know, I mean, you've done 42 of them. Isn't it time for next? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It would be cool. But then I wouldn't be able to do the actual 48s anymore. And I would like to still make the films. And then because I helped out, I was allowed to help out Hans and Jasper during Filma in Rotterdam so much. I just fell in love with the whole other side of it. And spoke to all of you guys, you know, what's it like? And do you miss making the films? And talking to all of you guys, I basically decided that week, this is what I want to do. And a week later, I was official. So those meetings, not just being able to talk about the pandemic and seeing what it's like for you guys over there and what it's, like for us over here in Europe, and made you feel closer to each other because you're all the same thing together, right? But also learning from each other and just having fun and hearing all the weird stories and situations that you end up in, we're doing 48. It's just that was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you start hearing the stories behind the curtains. I mean, you go off and you have, your own crazy adventures making these films, and then you talk to the city producers, and who invariably have the utmost regard and respect for everyone, who participates in it, from the first timers and hobbyists, to the film students, to the young careerists, and, all the way up to pros who, just need a creative break for making, content for Amazon and Microsoft and Nintendo and T-Mobile, kind of the soul crushing
corporate stuff. Yeah, non-creative stuff. Yeah.
And, they come in and just, the stories you collect over the years of, just seeing this myriad, rainbow colored, pastiche of filmmakers.
Yeah.
But then, you come to the other side and you just see there's a lot to commiserate about and a lot to celebrate.
Exactly. Because what struck me the most, I think, is, like I said, I've done 42 of them things. I know how this game works. I know it better than Mark does, right? So, and then knowing that, I made a mistake once or twice with one of the elements, with the prop or the character, the line, whatnot. And I told the line of disqualification a few times. And then I was like, no, you can't disqualify me, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm sitting on the other side of that fence and I'm looking at these films and I'm just sitting there praying they got it right, because I don't want to make that phone call.
It's a rough one to make.
It's horrible. There's so much goes into it,
Yeah, and I mean, the reactions are always so. It's either, yeah, we know, it's cool, we messed up, we know we did, or you're killing my baby. You're killing art.
I put everything into this. Like, I know, but there's rules I can't bend.
Yeah.
Because the rules is what make up the backbone of this entire competition. But I think what struck me the most of all, besides all the practical stuff that goes with being a city producer, is the true and honest feeling of friendship and family between such a great group of us. And because I thought, I know, it's all lovely people and they all like each other and it's fine. But actually being in the center of it and then having those meetings, like you said, those Zoom calls, if you have an issue, there's always someone there to help. It's just such a warm bath that you get invited into, because there's been people that are quite new, like myself. There's been there's people that have been doing it for ages, like yourself, but still with this much love and enthusiasm for the competition and the films and the filmmakers. I just think there's nothing like it. Yeah,
I can't wait to see everyone.
Same.
But it's that, it's a family reunion. I didn't go to my homecoming dances or senior prom or anything. I wasn't interested in that. I went to Primus shows instead. And I mean, Filmapalooza is that for me. It's my version of homecoming and prom, but it's more like a family reunion too, where
Definitely.
we all get together. Yeah,
we all get together, and especially there's the feeling of international collaboration and bonding is so cool, because you're right now you're on the other side of the planet,
Yeah, we're 9 time zones apart.
And we're 9 time zones apart. And later on today, it's 11 o'clock at night for me when I have a meeting with Mark, and it's 5 o'clock for them, but it's fine because that's just how it is. So you go to Filma, and all of a sudden you're all in the same time zone. You're all there together. You can, go have a drink, go have a laugh, go have a talk. It's like a family reunion, holiday, outing, all put together.
Yeah.
And same with the filmmakers, because you get to meet people from all over the world that have been playing the exact same game, whether you're from, somewhere in the States or from Japan. It's all the same thing, and you all have the same experiences. How many hours did you sleep? I slept none. Yeah, me too. It's the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just for
Yeah. And I mean, it's nice because, you get to see the host city, kind of in a way that I like to travel, which is, a little by the seat of my pants, more like touring with a rock band than, traditional, holiday tour, like in, so when it was in Paris, I'd never been, I've been all over Europe at that point, except for like, Germany, France, England, Spain, the places that, most Americans, dream of going. I go to Bulgaria and Serbia and Poland and
also
Norway,
nice.
All great places. Love all those places. Had been to Italy and, spent my entire time 5 days in Italy, pissed off at how good the food and coffee were everywhere. But Kasha, my wife, she'd been to Paris and, she loves it. We didn't stay at the official hotel because it was a little out of our price range. And, but we stayed at this nice, comfortable little hotel that was 4 blocks from the Louvre. We found, a bakery around the corner we had breakfast at every day. There's a, brasserie right on the corner where, we'd get espresso and beer at. We tromped around and, saw some of Kasha's favorite places, but it was so compressed, we didn't get to go to the Louvre. It was just like, we didn't want to waste half a day just getting into the place.
Yeah.
But, we made 2 trips to Montmartre. We walked from our hotel to the Arc de Triomphe. Got a croque monsieur up by the, Eiffel Tower, and, we saw a lot of it in, just a few days. Went to the Pompadour, which Kasha was really excited about. She's, big art nut. And, we hung out with city producers and friends and, watched movies and, swapped stories. It's just, when you get like kind of the inside track from your local host, it's great, because in 2017 we hosted it here in Seattle. And I wish Chris had been my co-producer then, because like events are her thing. That's what she does. I was flying by the seat of my pants, and our opening night kickoff was at the lobby for KEXP, and which is it's a world-renowned radio station at this point. And we had the executive director of the Seattle Mayor's Office of Film and Music talk. We had Amy Lillard, our Washington State Film Commissioner, talk. Nice. And there's 400 people from all over the world, with the help of one of our, sibling film festivals, Stiff. They provided all the booze.
Very important.
Yeah. And then, I got up and I was just looking around, and I normally don't have a problem, speaking in front of crowds, but I was just looking. It's like, there's people from all over the world here right now. This is they're in my hometown. I got to make sure they're having a good time. I barely slept that entire. I barely attended anything. Yeah.
Gosh.
It was just amazing. And, it was great to have Kate Becker, who used to be the director of the Office of Film and Music for Seattle. She's now working with King County, which is where Seattle's in King County, working there and doing amazing work there. And Amy Lillard from Washington Filmworks, the state film commissioner. It was great because they, afterwards they were just like, holy crap, they've been so helpful with me in the 48 over the years. They had no idea just the global scope of it.
Right.
They were blown away.
Most people don't. People that participate regularly, they know. But if I, for instance, go out and look for, I don't know, new sponsor or whatnot, right? Then I go, well, it was an international film festival, filmmaking competition festival thing. We're in over 130 cities in the world. They go, really? Really? Is it that big? Yeah, it's that big. And it's, I think, the marketing can be, we can be even bigger, but it's a worldwide phenomena in a certain part of the industry. And there's a lot of people that start out doing 48s, like myself. When I did my very first 48 back in 2011, so it's my 10-year anniversary this year, I suppose. When I started out with Pierre as an actress, we do not speak of this. Pretty bad, proper bad. It like opened a door in my soul saying, oh, hold on. So this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be making films. And from there on out, I learned about the 48 and how big it was and people involved. And from there on out, I started meeting people. I started learning how to produce. I started learning how to make films. I now have my own company in the audiovisual industry. I run 3 cities in the Netherlands. I get to help produce Filmapalooza for the 2nd year in a row. I mean, what? Little old me, knowing absolutely nothing, with no film-related schooling or whatever. This is what the 48 can do for you. If you, have passion and have love for filmmaking, for storytelling, for people, it can bring you, well, like in my case, everything.
Yeah, that's, I got involved in the 48, kind of in a, strange way, in that, it was 2004. I was 2.5 years out of film school, looking to, still developing my career and just wanting to get into anything I could. And we heard about this thing called the 48-hour film project. And, a bunch of my friends were like, this sounds really cool. It's totally doable. And we look at the website, no Seattle. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit. Like, what's up with that? Portland has it, and Portland, there's a friendly rivalry between, Portland and Seattle. It's just 3 hours to the south, which in European terms is like 4 countries away.
True. No lie.
Depending on what part of Europe you're in. And so I started emailing Mark and Liz, like, why don't you have this as BS? And they ever so politely put up with these terrible emails I sent them. And they're like, well, if you're interested, ever the diplomats, like, we have a sibling competition called the National Film Challenge. It goes on internationally. It's now the 4 points. So the National Film Challenge became 4 points. And if you're interested, it's the same thing, except it goes on worldwide the same weekend, and you get 72 hours instead of 48. I was like, cool, thanks. So I put out a call to friends, and they said, we had way too much of a response. Enough that we actually split into 2 teams, registered 2 teams. And one team did so well making, a film noir comedy that it was invited to Filmapalooza, which is in my hometown of San Jose, California in 2005, which is, really crazy. Like, San Jose has some culture in it. That's weird. We always kind of referred to it as like the armpit of the Bay Area.
That's harsh.
That's San Jose. And the team that I ended up on, our film, it was funny, but the poor director, he got screwed so hard. At like 2 a.m., he's like, okay, I'm happy with where the script idea is going. He's like, I'm going to go get some sleep and get ready. And I'm like, okay, cool. Dave's happy. The writers are going to write the script. So I'm like, I'm going to take a nap too, because I got to produce 2 teams this weekend. Like, they wait for me to fall asleep. We're in our office in, downtown Belltown, Seattle. They trash the script and start over. So 6 a.m. rolls around, director shows up and just goes, what is this? And all the writers had fled. They just, they wrote this new thing, and poor Dave, he had to recreate everything from memory.
They just left?
Yeah. I woke up, they were gone. There was a script, and yeah, it was. It was a case of clashing egos, and young filmmakers. I don't bear anyone any grudges from it. Dave pulled it off. He finished it on time, but it just wasn't great. It was funny. It was fun to watch, but not a solid story.
Right.
So the other team, they were just laser focused, and they knocked it out of the park. We got invited to Filma. It's screened. It's in my hometown. I'm staying with my brother and my sister-in-law to be, and having a blast. I'm in my early 30s, and friends from Seattle came down, and we drank with the boys from Sheffield like you wouldn't believe. And last night of Filma at a hotel in downtown San Jose, which had cleaned up a lot since I, moved away and from San Jose in 1990. We were having drinks with, he's blank on his name, but he was the library cop from Seinfeld. He was in a film called Duck that was playing at Cinequest. Yeah. And he's telling all of us youngsters to, just stay at it, do what you love. It was great. He was fantastic. And, at the end of the night, Liz comes up and she's like, yeah, Mark and I, we really loved your film. And I'm like, I really had nothing to do with that film other than get food to them. Checking to make sure they're on schedule. They were really self-contained, and I'm just wasted at this point. Just wasted, because I could do that back then. And so Liz says, well, it seems like you had a good time. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to do it again. And she goes, how'd you like to start up the 48-hour film project in Seattle? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And I wake up the next morning just like hungover, like, I'm an editor. What did I just sign up for? What? Oh, and this is 2005. 48 was still a baby. It was only in like 25 cities at that point.
Yeah.
And a lot of the tools that we city producers use, they didn't exist. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, none of that existed. We had to hit bulletin boards and Craigslist.
MySpace.
MySpace wasn't even that big,
Oh, go figure.
Then, yet, it was used. And so it really was very DIY. And, the help of Mark and Liz, I mean, they were very hands-on. And, I got to thank Rob Hatch from Baltimore and Portland. I mean, he was my mentor first couple of years, because he had a couple of years under his belt. He's the only producer in the game right now that's been doing it longer than me.
Really?
By 1 year.
By 1 year. Oh.
Yeah. Those three, they really helped me, get it off the ground, get it on good footing, and, help grow it. And then, Christina and Ben and Brian and Laura all came into the picture over the next coming years. And our, base of tools, started to grow, made it easier and easier and easier. I couldn't believe, I pulled it off in 2005 in only 3 months,
wow.
Between inception and getting it going with 24 teams.
24 teams in your first try.
Well, I mean, I'm in a metropolitan area of about 2 million people. So.
Oh yeah, the scale of everything still gets to me, you guys. I swear to God, because I've never been to the States, right? So Washington is going to be my very first visit and taste of the United States. And I think because, again, I live in the Netherlands, we're about this tiny. If you drive from my place 3 hours, you're in France, and you skip Belgium and Luxembourg. So, and when you say, oh, we got 24 teams on the first try, I'm like, that's really good. And then you say, well, we have, 2 million people. I'm like, oh yeah. So we have six cities over 17 million, but a very, I think a smaller, film industry perhaps than for instance Seattle. We have more.
We're kind of one of the flyover states when it comes to the industry, because we got Vancouver just to the north of us.
Right.
We have massive studio system, massive tax incentives. And then we have Oregon to the south, which has a bigger film incentive than we do. And then to the east, we have Montana, who just in 2019 fired up their film incentive, and it started out at 3 times the size of ours, which had been around for over a decade at that point.
Right.
So, we're working on it. I work heavily, lobbying on behalf of our film incentive. But yeah, I mean, the distances and the populations, I mean, Europe tends to be more densely populated, pockets of multiple cities. And just to put it into perspective, when I go visit my brother and his family in Montana, I make this drive in one day. It's an 800-kilometer drive. And in between, let's see here, and in between, basically Seattle metropolitan area and the Missoula metropolitan area, it's only a city of 50,000 people, and they live south of that. Let's see here. I hit, there's really only 2 cities along the way, along that stretch. There's a bunch of towns, but yeah, there's only two cities that you hit before you hit, Missoula. There's Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. And I
can't wait to get a taste of this. I swear to God, I can't wait.
But you're going to be on the East Coast, so it's going to be much more similar to a European experience. It's once you get west of the Mississippi that these distances just become way more vast.
Right. Well, as far as I know, we're not going to have Filma in Europe anytime soon anymore. So, there might be another chance for me to visit the West Coast. You never know.
Well, Chris and I are, champing at the bit to get Filma back to Seattle.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We don't have any formal proposals or anything in, but we're gonna, it was good film.
To be fair, though, shouldn't it be the 1 year in the US and then the next year in Europe?
That's really been the goal. But there's
quite a few cities that can actually pull it off. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, London could pull it off. Definitely, Gideon could pull that off. Gideon, if you're listening, I'll fly over and come and help. It's fine.
Prague. I want Prague.
David. Yes, Prague would be great. I mean, I would love to bring it back to the Netherlands, but it would be very hard to top what our dear friends Hans and Jasper have done, because that was
killed it.
Fantastic effort.
That was amazing.
Killed it. They was so good, and it was all so very well organized and so fun and so streamlined and so pretty and
wet.
Especially because, literally days after, the whole world turned upside down.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting at home. I think because we were there until the Sunday, and I think I sat at home the day after I came back, and then the whole COVID Corona thing started sprouting, was showing its ugly head, and I'm thinking, I was hugging 100 people yesterday. What's going on? And I remember Mark being, the clever man that he is. I saw him, and I hadn't seen him since Barrett's, and I really wanted to give him a hug. So I kind of did the whole slow-mo kind of thing towards him, and I went like this, and he went, no.
I know.
No. He said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to tap my foot. So he stuck out his leg and he tapped his foot against mine. And I'm a very unbalanced person as is. So it was quite, awkward. But I'm like, this guy is nuts, right? This guy is nuts. Turns out he was the cleverest of all.
Yeah. Well, I remember, flying out of SeaTac Airport. I flew out on February 29th. And because I like to, even though I wasn't working a film of that year, I like to, feather my trip with a day on either side. And, spent the night in Amsterdam and learned that in Amsterdam, people don't get up early. It's very hard to find coffee when jet lag wakes you up at 4:30.
I remember you posted that picture on Facebook.
Yeah, no one's here.
What's happening? Yeah.
But SeaTac Airport and Keflavik in Iceland were both, packed on the flight out. And I caught my flight home was again Schiphol to Reykjavik to Seattle. And I was actually on the flight from Amsterdam to Reykjavik with Chris and Jesse from Toronto. And, Chris has been a dear friend since I met him at Filmapalooza in 2013. I met Jesse, his wife, in Filmapalooza Paris. And it was kind of funny because, I go to more Filmapaloozas than he does. He messages me in 2018, "You going to Filma?" I'm like, I am. And he's like, "I'm bringing Jesse." I'm like, "I'm bringing Kasha." And so all of a sudden I know that, at that moment in Toronto, there's a conversation. It was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait for you to meet Kirk." And there's a conversation in Seattle. I turned to Kasha, "Oh my God, I can't wait for you to meet Chris." And then, we all got together and, Jesse and Kasha hit it off immediately. Kasha and, Chris hit it off. Jesse and I hit it off. And we had a blast together.
It's lovely. I mean, they're lovely, 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 lovely people. They're like fantastic. And of course, the three of us are linked for life.
Yes.
Through the power of ik. But I think you would never ever make friends with people from, over there or over here if you weren't involved in the 48. Because I went to Cannes, right? After winning in 2017, I had the pleasure of being in Paris for Filma, and both Filmapaloozas for that matter, two of the best weeks of my life, hands down. Hands down. Then after, I also got to go to Cannes, and they have the 48-hour screening there, and the parties, and I met people from Ulaanbaatar. The boys from Ulaanbaatar were there. Gorgeous film.
I remember that film. It was amazing.
Oh, it makes me cry every time. Beautiful. The people from Buffalo. Shout out to Jordan and this #BuffaloLove crew. We had the best time with them in Cannes, and I just found out there's like this promotional video for 48 and for Filmapalooza and that, and we're all in that. So Patrick and I are in there, and the Buffalo crew is in there. And I met Jordan there. I really hope to see him again in Washington. And we just had a blast there. It was just so special because, Cannes in itself is a crazy business. It's mental. It's like its own little universe, and it's completely mad, but fantastic. And I remember standing there on like the strip or whatever you call it, the boulevard. Let's keep it the boulevard. Standing there in my, black tie dress with my blue hair and my blue dress, thinking, I'm at the film festival in Cannes. I have a film screening at the film festival in Cannes. And when that hit me, I'm thinking, I'm here because of the 48. I would have never, ever gotten here if it wasn't for the 48. And all the people I met throughout the years. And I remember standing there and thinking, I wish my dad could have seen this first. And then this is absolutely insane. This is insane.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that sums up the 48 pretty well. It's insane, but it's insanely awesome and insanely loving, and crazy. And because, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of year. I can't wait to go to DC. It's been a long time in coming, for DC to host it. And I'm really, excited for Mark and Christina, because, they get to, show us the birthplace. And, I haven't been to DC since my senior year in high school. I've been twice, when I was in 8th grade and then my senior year. I'm really excited to, see it again, and kind of terrified at the same time with, the political tenor of this country at this point.
And Corona, COVID, obviously. I mean, like I have weekly nightmares about ships hitting the fan again, and it falling through. And especially now, I'm so closely involved in the organizing of it all. I say all, I do quite a few bits, but I do various bits, and I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to help out and be involved in that and work together with Mark and with Brian and Wouter and Christina, and with everyone that's involved, obviously, because it's so huge and it means so much to so many people that you really want to do your absolute best. Meaning that I'm, working 60 hours a week besides doing my own, having my own company and doing all the work for Filma, because I love doing it for everyone, for myself, and then being able to go there and see Mark in, his natural habitat, and where it all started. I'm so pleased for them that it's looking, this good, that we can actually go through with it. But it's very scary world right now, so it's also always in the back of my mind that it might fall through, and that would absolutely break my heart.
Yeah, I mean, just because I feel super bad for Seattle's 2020 winners, because they got a virtual Filmapalooza, which I mean, granted, I mean, you and Chris really rocked that event.
Chris was amazing. Chris is amazing. This woman is dynamite, I'm telling you.
Chris Flink is my co-producer here in Seattle, for those of you that don't know. And she started, kind of Chris's origin story is we met taking a directing class at Freehold Theater here in Seattle, and just hit it off immediately, like working together, and we just liked each other, got along well. And she invited me and another filmmaker friend of ours to follow a friend of ours who had stage 4 lung cancer, do the Birkebeiner cross country race in Lillehammer, Norway.
Right.
And, we went over, and, I've never cried so much while traveling, because, as we went along because he has a ton of family over there, and he spent a lot of time over there, and that's why he wanted to do it, this race. But we knew he was saying goodbye to everyone as we were, visiting family. It was, I mean, it's an experience I'll, never regret, but it was tough, solidified that Chris and I could work together. And then she started, she'd done the 48 and had, volunteered at kickoff and drop off to, help me out and at the screenings. And then in November of 2017, I was getting my horror awards together, and I got a call from my brother on a Sunday saying, you need to get out to Montana now. And I tried at 4 p.m. to get on a 6 p.m. flight to Missoula, because my mom was she was in a hospital in Missoula, not doing well. So I didn't get that same day flight. I had to wait until the next morning, but I called up Chris and I said, can you run my, the awards event for me if necessary? I don't know if I'm going to be back in 2 days or, 3 weeks. Turns out it was 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so she lives in Maple Valley, and I live in Burien. and kind of the halfway point is the city of Renton, where Boeing is. And, we met in the parking lot of this kind of like sports complex community theater. It was like, it must have looked like a drug deal to anyone who came by, but I was just handing off a hard drive with all the, award-winning films.
Right.
And later the next day I texted Chris and just said, yeah, you're going to have to run the awards for me. And, on the night of the awards, I saw pictures popping up on Facebook and everyone was saying what a great time they had. And I'm like, okay, that's it, Chris. You have to be my co-producer. That's, so she came through, at the time that I needed it the most. I'd never missed a 48 event before, but the death of one's mother kind of, it surpasses most things.
Yeah. When my dad died 6 years ago, my dad died of cancer, and 2 weeks after, we were supposed to do a 48, and my whole team was like, you don't have to, and it's fine. And I'm a producer, so I produce, and but they would, lost without me. Great people, but a team needs a producer and a proper one. And I'm like, no, I really want to do it, and because it's important. It was important to my dad because I always showed him, the films I made. So he would have wanted me to go through it, and I can really use a distraction and fun people around me now. So that really helped me get through that.
Yeah.
Those first weeks, and just having the support and the love of the people, and getting your creativity out. And a year later, I met someone I met via 48, who essentially designed the logo that I have for my company now, which includes my dad's profile.
Oh, nice.
So even that, I got through someone I met at the 48.
Yeah.
And I think people like Chris, I had the pleasure of working with her, earlier this year on the online event, and she is a machine, but a machine with such a big heart. And I think she is just a fabulous woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Once, she's a dear friend. And I think, once we achieve a post-pandemic normal, I think she's going to be the magic element to help us get into triple-digit registration. It was like I'd done all I could basically by myself, and I want we have the population, we have the desire that I think we should be a triple-digit city. Got to beat San Diego.
That's fun, right? Because there's like competition between all of us as well.
Oh yeah.
We cannot, let's be honest here. Let's be honest for 1 second. We cannot compete with cities like Mexico, with all the French cities. Because what they do in Mexico, like 200 teams.
220. It's just insane.
It's mental, Camila. It's mental.
But that's a city with a population of 28 million. A city.
It's insanity. We do about an average. I think Rotterdam is still always the biggest one here, with around about 50 teams outside of the pandemic. Because we all know the numbers have been, decreasing because of the pandemic, which makes sense. So like you said, let's hope that after this is all over and we can get back to normal, whatever that's going to be like, everybody can go out and make films again. But it's fun to have a little competition amongst ourselves, saying how many teams did you get? And I think that's fun. I think that's healthy.
Yeah, it's like for years I was like, okay, I got to be Portland, because the funny thing is in 2005 when I started it here, no one thought of Portland as a place with a serious film or TV industry.
Right.
Fast forward a couple of years, they've got 5 TV series going and several feature films going every year. And
I think it also helps because to put it in, we have one of my cities, Nijmegen, is a very, very small city. with like, I don't know how many people live there. I don't know numbers. I don't remember those. But it's small. And not necessarily a very lively, film industry or anything. There's a short film festival, Oscar qualifying short film festival that we used to work with, but that's about it. But the beauty of being in a small country is that people come from everywhere.
Yeah.
So we get teams from the other side of the country. That's not something that you guys get to do, clearly, logically. So we have a few teams that all of us know, because they always go to, I used to be one of those teams, that always go to every single city and do them all every year, because it's an addiction, really. I mean, even as a city producer, I feel addicted, because we started out with 2, and now we're going to do the special, which is very exciting. It's super cool, and especially for geeks like me, it's a dream come true to do a 48 that is especially for the genres, the sci-fi, horror, fantasy. I think that is needed and important. But also I think speaking to people at Filma, speaking to you guys like this via Zoom, you get insights from different cultures, from different people, different backgrounds, different everything.
Exactly.
And that grows you as a person so much.
Yeah.
And that's just priceless.
Yeah.
Because you gain insight into things that, I mean, I didn't know a lot about America. I live in Europe. I don't know a lot about America. I don't watch the news. I can be a little ignorant sometimes. I can be. But knowing all you guys over there, talking to you guys about it, made me more aware of the world around me. It's true. And
and you met us all during a very interesting time in American history.
Yes. Yes. I mean, but also that, I mean, every time I would go on, we would go on the Zoom calls, and we're like, okay, how are you guys doing? Are you okay? And it's so interesting, and I think that is just the coolest thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always been, an advocate of travel. I've traveled. I've been to most of the United States. It's a big, damn country. I mean, Texas is the size of France.
Yeah. Hello.
And France is not a small country. And in 1989, I got to go to the Soviet Union for 3 weeks. St. Petersburg was still Leningrad back then.
Wow.
I was a 17-year-old kid, and I spent 4th of July, Independence Day, in Red Square in Moscow. Talk about just having your brain blown wide open. Gosh. And as a child of the 80s in the United States, a child of the Cold War, learning which, having a bunch of stereotypes and misconceptions busted, about the people of the Soviet Union, but also a lot of them confirmed as well. It was just, very, very eye-opening for me as a 17-year-old. And then, didn't travel to Europe for a long time. And in 2011, I got to go on tour with the band Culture Shock, and we went to Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and Bulgaria. And again, just my brain blown wide open. I, came back a fundamentally different person in a lot of ways. Angry that I can't get coffee that good at a reasonable price here. Even the garbage coffee in Italy, it would be like a $7 shot here. Yeah. But you get it for €1 out of a vending machine there. And that's their crap coffee. Being able to travel and just, meeting people and, eating different foods and, just even, I'm always struck by, this memory of just how different the clouds were in Italy, compared to where I live, in the Northwest. It's a very, very perspective, enlarging event, traveling and meeting people.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And I think it fuels not only personal growth, but also creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and passion for the people that we do this for, that
Yeah.
we organize these festivals and these competitions for. And, after, working on it or working towards it, and then actually being there at the I remember being in Paris at the award show, which was in the in City Hall, where like nobody gets to go there.
That was
And we
amazing.
got in there, and it was just something out of a movie. It was so pretty, right?
Yeah.
In all the lights and the gold and the colors and the beautiful architecture, and it was just amazing. And I was there in a very, very uncomfortable dress, and
I was in a tie, so I was in hell.
I mean, I'm not a dressy kind of girl. Let alone
Why we get along.
But you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, you can't show up to a pretty place like that in jeans and a t-shirt. So, but I just remember sitting there thinking, I'm so privileged to see this on the inside, because nobody gets, and then it's just, it's all very cheesy, mushy gushy, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I mean, I know, from the people for like my friends and stuff, most of them who I met through 48, they kind of moved. I wouldn't say moved on, because they still sometimes do one, but none of them are as crazy about it as I am. Now I do realize that there's not a lot of people that are as crazy about it as I am, but the feeling that you belong to something this big and are being appreciated for who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And that there are, that you appreciate everyone around you for who they are and what they do, and for all the different people we are, for all the different backgrounds, all the different colors, all the different, sexual orientation, whatever you are, whatever your pronoun is, we're just one big family that loves our makers and creativity and film. And I just think that's the most beautiful thing. It really is.
Well, I don't know what I can say beyond that. I think we're coming up on an hour here, and I think that was just a beautiful wrap up of the whole thing. Well, I mean,
good thing I didn't say it at the beginning.
Well, then that's such a wonderful, wrap up of this, focusing on, Filmapalooza and just the family that the 48 creates. It's, we haven't hung out. I mean, you and I haven't hung out together much in person. But, I feel we have a, very, very, developed deep friendship at this point.
I agree.
And whenever we talk, it's just like there's no real catching up. It's just boom, we pick up from where we left, and it's fantastic. And I hope we gotta get the band back together in March.
I cannot wait. And I please, universe, I'm as atheist as they come. But if there's something out there, please make sure this can happen, because I need it. Like my soul needs it.
We got to see all our pals and, meet the new pals and
have a drink, get things. Yes.
Exactly. Watch great films from around the world.
Oh, I've already seen a few. Oh
yeah. I've seen, I'll finish up for you my judging today, my pre-judging.
Yes.
There's some good stuff.
Oh, there really is.
I don't want to say which cities I like, but there's some surprises.
Definitely. I think, but that's a cool thing, right? I mean, because, for the people, we like review all the films before they go to the judges, right? So we make sure that all the elements are in order and all that kind of stuff. So we get to see all these films from all around the world. And in one afternoon, I'm going from Vegas to Osaka to Melbourne to Warsaw. And they're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
In not only in quality, but also in feeling, and you can sort of sometimes taste some culture in there, but it's all the same game.
Like I can't wait for people. I can't wait for people to see the Shanghai film.
I haven't watched that yet.
It's all about the bucket.
Oh, Oh, that damn near killed me.
I was laughing.
There are four. Well, the guy killed me. I thought it was so clever and so funny. I love it.
I mean, I had to watch it several times just because I kept laughing and I was missing stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I loved it. I love it. But that's so cool because it's a film from Shanghai, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And then there's these two beautiful Chinese people that are doing beautiful job acting. And then there's this weirdo speaking English doing something very funny.
It's like a mix between a soap opera and a noir.
Like, only a 48-hour can make this happen. You know, like there's nobody in his right mind that has time on his hands and says, you know what, this weekend I'm gonna do something crazy. There's only 48-hour films that are that crazy.
And I mean, the prop was a water bucket, and it's just like, talk about embracing, you know, using the required elements.
Yeah.
You know, not finding a way to fit them in, but just embracing it and, you know, running
that's
with
the whole game, right? I mean, that's the whole game. If you use them right, that's, I think, to me, that was always the challenge. I'd always say to my script writers, use it, because it's not there to just, you know, wiggle in or put on a shelf somewhere. Use it as an inspiration to build the story around.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, another part of being a series producer is obviously, you know, coming up with the elements, with the props and the lines and the thing. And I love that bit. I love that bit because I'm a little bit of a sadist. So I love to like make it really hard. So I came up with an aromatherapist for our last city, and it's so funny because I wake up in the middle of the night, I think of aromatherapist for some reason, random. I have very, very much ADHD, so just random things pop in my head all the time. And 2 weeks later, there's 18 films about a year with an aromatherapist in it. It's weird, but it's also so fun.
We had 48 films about Chris Cherry, bartender, for this year.
Nice. I used Bart and Anton, our friends from Leeuwarden, another city over here, because it was their last year. So I took Anton's first name and Bart's last name and put them together. They were like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is fun, right? Yeah, well.
You know, I've used friends, friends of mine in the past, you know, with their permission, of course. So when we held Filmapalooza in Seattle, one of my best friends in the world, Val Kiosowski, he owns Solo Bar in the lower Queen Anne portion of Seattle. And he's also the guitarist for the band Culture Shock. And, you know, just one of my dearest friends. And he's been such a huge supporter of the 48, you know, since his bar opened. That one year in the horror competition, I made the character Val or Valerie Kiosowski, and Val's full name is actually Valery Kiosowski. So, you know, it works perfectly, you know, musician.
Last name.
Yeah. He escaped from Bulgaria.
Wow.
1990. Yeah. You know, amazing story. And, you know, very successful, you know, has a successful band, 2 successful bars/restaurants.
Wow.
It was the official hangout for, you know, Filmapalooza in 2017. But I'd forgot, you know, I thought it was funny enough that I was including Val in the, you know, as the character, but I'd forgotten that one of the participants was also a friend of Val's. So he actually got the Val Kiosowski to play Val Kiosowski.
That is genius. That is genius. I would have done the same thing. That is fantastic.
And to top it all off, the film was basically one gigantic fart joke.
I mean, the things you see sometimes, right? I mean, the creativity of people, the humor. I mean,
sometimes you want to call, you know, some sort of health service on people, but
yeah, they call them up. Are you okay? Talk to me. Are you okay, really?
That was an awful lot of vomit in that film. It's an awful lot of unexplained vomit in that film.
Should we get you any help? You know, are you sure? Yeah, but seeing the faces, you know, when you do the awards ceremony and stuff, and my hair's got all frizzy. You know, seeing the happiness of and the
Yeah.
you know how proud people are of something that they've won, it's just so cool. It's just so. I mean, I've done 42. I won once, which is a really bad track record. But I remember the feeling, you know, and now facilitating that feeling for people. So cool, man. So cool.
Yeah, I don't see a time in the foreseeable future where I'm going to stop doing this. I love helping advance people's careers.
Exactly.
All right.
I love doing, you know, what people have done for me.
Yeah. Well, I got to wrap this up. I have to go see Spider-Man in a couple hours.
You're gonna love it. It is so good.
I can't wait. I saw Alfred Molina and went, okay, I'm in.
You're gonna love it. It's gonna blow your.
But you know, in the heat of Filmapalooza, it's gonna happen. Just I'm putting that out there. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I am enlisting you officially on camera as a co-producer in the 48-hour film project documentary I want to do.
100%. Count me in. You got me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's a surprise twist that I want to make not a surprise twist. I want to get Mark and Liz, the founders, to Antarctica. I want, even if it's only one team, I want a 48 produced in Antarctica with a screening with Mark and Liz present. Because the joke is we're on 6 or 7 continents. Let's get to that 7th continent.
I love it.
You see Mark and Liz with a 48 flag planting it at like McMurdo.
I mean, that is gold. That is gold.
So you and me, we're gonna make that happen. We have the network. We have the network of people through the 48 and Filmapalooza. We can do this.
I mean, I don't know anyone in Antarctica off the top of my head, but yeah, that is.
We could run it up the flagpole. You know, send the feelers out into the 48 verse, and
Let's see what we can cook up.
All right. Well, thank you, Indra. Thank you so much. I sincerely hope I'm going to see you in a couple of months.
Same, my friend. Same. I've got a really, really big fat hug waiting. So
fantastic.
So it really doesn't matter what you look like, say or do. I know that I had a cooler weekend than you.
48-Hour Heroes Origin Stories is a production of Media Without Borders and the Seattle 48-Hour Film Project.